Well, greeting fellow rose lovers. I'm Jan Tolmasoff, and this is Michael, as you were told. And I'm going to lead off with a brief introduction to the Russian River Rose Company and what we do there, as well as invite you to come and visit us. Michael's going to pass out right now, before we get started, an invitation to our upcoming next weekend event. It'll be our last event of the year, and it's very, very special. And I'll be talking a little bit more about it, but I thought you could have these flyers to take home with you. After a few information things on our company, I'm going to talk on planet-friendly rose gardening. Very briefly, it's normally a full-hour program, which I'm going to condense for you, so we can get on to the really interesting things about what Michael does with our perfume roses. Right now, we're up in the Healdsburg, the wine country. It is full bloom for the roses coming into fall harvest, fall bloom, and also the harvest is on in the grapes. Our rose garden is surrounded by grapes, Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc, and we just picked them about a week and a half ago. The reds are still hanging, so if you want to come up and enjoy the wine country, it's absolutely gorgeous right now. There are over 100 wineries within about 20 miles of Healdsburg, about an hour north on the freeway. Wine and roses, classic combination, and many of the cultural needs for roses are the same as for grapes. And so you'll often see wine and roses planted together. Our garden, as you heard, has over 650 varieties of roses and about 100 varieties of irises. Irises and roses grow beautifully together, and the irises begin early on in the season when the roses are still hanging back, going, just wait for me, wait for me. We offer many classes throughout the year, beginning with the first weekend of April. We're open every weekend in April and May, and every weekend there's a different theme. So if you want to learn how to plant and grow roses, which all of you are not novices anymore, you would come to the first weekend. That's called How to Have a Happy Rose Garden. And then it proceeds on through climbers and fragrant roses and so on, and ending up with Memorial Weekend, when we have our wonderful Tea and Memories in the Rose Garden, where we have a dedicated memorial wishing tree, and you can hang a little tag on the tree in honor of someone. This is our Rose Alley, and we have a series of 8 12-foot by 12-foot arches going down through the vineyard. This is looking back towards the house. Michael built all of these from rebar, except for the first one, which is a wooden arch, but they're 12 feet tall by 12 feet wide, so the tractor can get through it. That's why the height there. This is some of the people visiting the garden in May. We also have a wonderful nursery. This is my excuse for having the garden. So if you come up, you will find some of the most wonderful roses. Many of them that the previous speaker was talking about being rare. Of our 650 varieties, over half of them are collector's roses. And we specialize in roses that do well in the Sonoma County wine country, San Francisco, Northern California type of climate. Including we have Renee, which is the wonderful rose that she talked about, the thornless climber. This is Mother's Day. And on Mother's Day, we have hundreds of people come and visit the garden. One of our goals is to introduce roses and rose growing to people who think roses are fussy. And I'm going to talk a little bit further on about fussiness not in roses. And a lot of children come and experience the garden, experience growing roses, and we really encourage that. The flyer that you all have in hand talks about our upcoming Russian Tea and Fragrance Festival. That's the 18th and 19th of October. And it is when we release this year's rose oil perfume, and Michael's going to talk about that. Very, very special. We're the only people in California, probably the United States, doing anything like this. In the spring, we have a Bulgarian group come and sing a blessing to the roses, just like the priests bless the harvest, beginning of the harvest of grapes. And they will be back next Sunday to sing a celebration of the rose oil collection. Now, my brief talk here is about planet-friendly gardening. And I'm going to talk about how we reduce our carbon footprint here at the Russian River Rose Company, some cultural practices, and our pest management program. We use the sun in many, many ways in our garden and living. Our house, we designed this house, and behind this south-facing wall, and these French doors, are 4 sets of them, receive the sunlight in the winter, and it's blocked in the summer. There's a 4-inch layer of concrete behind those windows that collects the solar heat or coolness passively. This flue this turret is a giant flue. You can open up those windows at night, and it drags the air out. On this wall over here, on the roof over there, we have solar hot water panels. And in 2010, the year of the BP oil spill, Michael said that's enough of that. So we had installed solar photovoltaic cells. In December, on the rainiest day guys were out there, it's kind of ironic. He's out there installing solar panels in a pouring down rain. Just so you remember what rain looks like. There they are putting up the panels. And that's the finished panels looking back towards the house. And we generate 100% of the power that we use, including running the pump. And everybody who comes to visit our garden is informed of all this, and hopefully it might encourage people to do the same thing. Now, the cultural practices that we use start in January 1st. 1st of January, I go out and prune my first rose. Hard pruning. I'm German, so they get a good, hard pruning. We also remove all the leaf litter around the roses and put it in the mulch pile. And so everything is nice and clean and ready to receive next year's fertilizer, etc. We use copper sulfate as a dormant spray. It is certified organic, so you can feel perfectly happy about doing that. And this is our soil. Yesterday you heard about heavy clays in California. We have heavy clay loams. It's river bottom land, Dry Creek Valley, almost toxic with magnesium. And magnesium is one of the things that helps bind the soil up. So you can make bocce balls out of our soil in the winter. What we do to correct that is we make our own, one of the things, we make our own compost. Everything goes into the compost pile. And one or the other of us turns it. And when we plant, we use 50% our own compost and 50% what came out of the hole. And you dig a big hole. Big hole. And if you think you're finished, dig it a little bit bigger. In the compost, of course, you get your little friends here, and that helps with the whole the dirt conditioning also. And this is our fertilizer. We use, where is that? This is the good old alfalfa pellets, and this is some top dressing mulch. We also use half a cup to a cup of slow release fertilizer. Can I take questions at the end?
Just tell me if you put that in the hole too.
No, that goes on top. This after we prune and plant everything that's going to be planted, then we put the slow release fertilizer on it, the fertilizer, the alfalfa pellets, dig that in really well, and then cover the whole thing with about a 4-inch layer of mulch purchased from Sonoma Compost. It's recycled and mulched tree trimming waste, the green waste that you have. It's very important to not get the arborists, the local arborists, ground up tree stuff because could have sudden oak death, oak root fungus, poison oak, whatever. The stuff at Sonoma Compost is actually turned and heat treated. When we get it, it's warm. There it is. And we put that on everything. There's a pile of it. That's only about 1/3 of what we use in the whole garden. And it comes steaming. It's great stuff. So that's from briefly from the cultural things, what we do. And then let's get into pest management. We'd use ladybugs primarily for aphid, mealybug, whitefly control. We do not spray anything in our garden, ever. We do spray the nursery occasionally if it's a wet spring, and we put fungicides on in the nursery, but we do not spray any pesticides because you will kill these little guys very quickly. We encourage and show children often how to use the ladybugs, and I'm going to give you the secret to ladybug control if you don't know it already. Oh, sorry, got to go faster. Okay. There's my grandson learning early how to put out ladybugs. And sometimes the children are a little nervous about it, but I tell them there's nothing wrong with those guys. The secret is you put them on in the evening as the sun goes down on a calm night into the base of a bush that has aphids up here. That's the short and sweet of it, and I can fill you in on more later. It's very important to have an area there where these beneficials can eat and play and reproduce, and we have a butterfly garden for that. It's in full bloom right now. And there it is with all the zinnias, perennials, salvias, and the buddleia is up top, up here. And you can see there's ladybug, very, very happy. That is the aphids there. This is milkweed in our garden for the monarchs. There's a honeybee on Cosmos. I'm just going to go quickly through these. All these were taken by Michaela Kennan, our staff photographer, or whatever you want to call her. There's a honeybee on Gaillardia. There's a ladybug on a fuchsia. That's a pipevine swallowtail. Beautiful. We've had these since May. On the Zowie zinnia, I was talking last night to somebody about the Zowie zinnias that we grow from seed. West Coast lady on a Cosmos. That's a gorgeous western tiger swallowtail on buddleia. And the prize is monarchs, okay? And as again on a Zowie. We've had these monarchs in our garden now for about 2 months, sometimes 3. Sometimes 3 at the same time. And they're there now, so come up next weekend and see them. There's also birds' nests that happen, okay? This is in a Phyllis Bide. If any of you have ever pruned a Phyllis Bide, you know that's a great place for a defensive nest in there. And we have hummingbirds come. We have a whole hummingbird wall that Michael built for me with all kinds of plants on it for the hummingbirds. And there's a dragonfly. So a lot of these critters running around in the garden and keeping it clean, pretty much clean of pests. Still haven't figured out how to get rid of the Dibrotica beetles, but we send them over to our neighbor's vegetable patch. And then, of course, the pièce de la résistance is this guy here. He's in our nursery and eating something on the salvia. So those are some of the critters that you'll get if you don't spray. If you do spray, you probably won't see these guys. We haven't had to release ladybugs in over 3 years because we have this habitat and they actually do breed. You can find very happy couples in there. And so in closing, I just want to invite you to come out next weekend or sometime next year. We're open every weekend in April and May. Come and see the Bulgarian singers. There's a picture of the Rose Embrace perfume. And so remember to stop and smell the roses. It's very important. Now, in leading into Michael's talk, he became interested in Bulgarian rose oil production after seeing a Smithsonian Magazine article back in the late 80s, early 90s, about Bulgarian rose oil production. We went there in 96 to see how they do it. In the meantime, we were planting sample plots. This is a picture, oops, come back here. This is a picture of the Kazanliks, the bed, with the rose alley in the background. All these roses would have bloomed since the morning when we picked them all. So these are all fresh blossoms blooming that day. So I'm just going to turn it over to Michael. If you have questions about anything I've said, I'll be available after.